Portions of the following program may have been pre-recorded.
The following program's views, claims, or ideas may not reflect those of WSRR Radio or StylesRebelRadio.com.
And now, we take you behind enemy lines with Lucas DeRazio and Dom Ferro on WSRR Radio.
All Browns fans will go to heaven where football season's never ending. The leaves have changed, smell it in the air. Where every morning is a Sunday morning, the grill is firing and the drinks are pouring. All Browns fans will go to heaven and our Modell can go to hell.
It's Friday, it's 10 o'clock, you're listening to WSRR Radio, which means you are listening to Behind Enemy Lines, your Cleveland sports talk show from Pittsburgh. I'm Lucas DeRazio, joined as always by Dom Ferro. It's April 30th, and you guys may be listening to this in the month of May 1st. Congratulations, you guys made it to the 5th month of the year right here on WSRR Radio. I'm glad you guys are bringing the month of May in with Behind Enemy Lines.
I gotta say, I didn't see any "it's gonna be May" memes this year. I think those are officially dead.
What is? I don't know what that means.
The In Sync, "it's gonna be me."
I've never seen that.
You've never seen that?
No.
They're like, "it's gonna be May."
You've
never seen that?
Hell no.
That might be more of like a Facebook boomer type.
That's a very Facebook type meme.
That definitely went crazy back in.
That sounds like a MySpace meme.
That definitely went nuts back in 2015.
It's gonna be May.
Speaking of Twitter, and this is just before we get into like the NFL draft, because we got plenty to talk about that.
Of course, tons to talk about this week, especially with the draft.
Just a little personal story. My main Twitter account got suspended.
Just this in the last week?
2 days ago, it got suspended. It says it's permanently in read mode only. So I can't retweet, I can't post anything. I can't even like search anything. All I can do is like view the For You page.
Did you get canceled? What happened?
So someone hacked into my account, and most of the time, like I'll get an email like, "Hey, is this you?" Like a 2-factor authentication type of thing. And this time I didn't get anything. All it said was like, "Yeah, someone just signed into your account." And so I'm like, "All right, that's weird." I go back in, I change my password, I'm back into my account, and then all of a sudden it says I'm suspended permanently.
Whoa, what happened?
I think it just saw like multiple people were like getting in, changing passwords, and like it just thought it was like suspicious activity. And so like I can submit an appeal, but everything I've read online, it's like there's a 50-50 chance you'll just never hear back from Twitter. I won't call it X. And I already like disliked Elon Musk, but this has taken my dislike even further.
The fact that he messed up your Twitter account, now it's personal. Yeah.
He's made it personal, and so now I'll never buy a Tesla. That's for sure. And if I can't get this account back, I'm just going to like Threads, like the Instagram.
Going to the Instagram version,
I guess. But it stinks. Like I use it a lot for this podcast. I use it for work. Like Twitter is just my most used thing by far. And for them to suspend this account that I've had for like 12 years. Honestly, I've been devastated about it.
You might have to switch over to Truth Social.
Or Blue Sky.
Bluesky.
I don't know how it's pronounced.
It's
probably Blue Sky.
Isn't that just like the liberal version of Truth
I think
Social?
So. I think so. I don't even want to know what's on there.
I've never dabbled in either.
I'm going to go on Truth Social and re-truth.
I mean, everyone always sees the Truth post just from Trump. Does anyone else post on Truth Social other than Trump?
That's a great question.
Because that's the only thing I
on Blue Sky. I don't know who's posting on Threads either. Like if I go on Threads, I'm gonna miss out. I feel like on a lot of things that are happening on Twitter.
Threads might be the move. Sometimes I'll get like suggested threads when I'm going through my Instagram.
Yeah,
and like it's a post where I'm like, I kind of want to click into that and see it, but like you can't unless you have a Threads account, and I don't. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna whatever. But sometimes I'll see something, I'm like, I want to read more about that.
But I made a Threads account when it first came out. And I used it for like a day. I was like, why wouldn't I just use Twitter? Like, it's the exact same thing. And Twitter has been around for over a decade. Like it's at a point where it's just, I think Elon ruined it a bit, but it's still like the best thing out.
To me, it's a dead
But I got the
It's a
burner
dead
account,
platform.
but the algorithm just isn't curated like my main was. Like I had that thing perfected. A good amount
I
of
think this is good
Steelers.
for you.
Good amount
I
of
think
NFL.
X is dead. In
I
my
think
opinion.
I think it might be the best thing possible because like mentally, Twitter's the worst probably.
Yes.
But
It's slop to me. Every time I go on, it's always like the same, like feel like whatever's going on, whatever the trend is at the time, like when they
all you
posted like
see.
the 4 pictures that like could go vertical.
yeah,
Like every single picture was that. And
That
it
was
was just
the
like
beautiful
every
pictures.
post was that. And I was like, I don't like this is not cool.
yeah. It's definitely not as good as it used to be.
Yeah.
So it might have been like might have happened for a good reason.
Yeah.
But it is a shame because I can't keep up with as much stuff as I'd like to. But at least I had it for the NFL draft. That's
That's
what
right.
mattered most.
Everything happens for a reason, and the NFL draft came through. Thank you guys for listening to last week's episode. If you didn't do that, you can go on Spotify or anywhere else you get your podcasts
It's a banger.
and listen to last week. We did a little man on the street interviews. Couldn't set up the table like we were planning on. Got a little bit of trouble for that.
Yeah, they didn't love that.
They weren't having us lugging a table around. But we got some stickers out. We gave out a generic clothes T-shirt. Got another contest winner. I was thinking about it this week, and my one really good friend is a Packers fan. We interviewed 3 Packers guys, and they were really great guys. Yeah, it was nice to talk to them.
I
for a
called
little bit.
everyone a diehard in those.
Everyone was a diehard to you. That's right. But after I told my buddy, I was like, yeah, we talked to some Packers fans. You would have liked them. And he was like, why were they there? I was like, what do you mean? It's the draft or whatever. He's like, Packers didn't even have a first round pick. And I knew that going in because I talked to my friend Carter, who's, again, the Packers fan. And like, it didn't even register to me. Like we should have asked those guys, like,
Why?
what are you going to do tonight? Like, just stand around and see the picks, huh?
They're just fans of the league, and that's really what it was. I was down there. Me and Lucas, we were down there early in the day talking to the people. I went back down later to see the first round, and it's just,
Pandemonium.
just true football, guys.
Yeah.
It was absolute pandemonium. Over 300,000 people down there watching, which I have a hard time believing. That just seems like way too.
You think that was too many?
Yeah. They were like, there was a total of 800,000 people who came to the draft.
I was going to say, I think more people came. It's just that there was only 300,000 in the draft, like
Maybe.
at that exact time too.
I mean, I gotta be honest, like it was a long day on Thursday from going down earlier, coming back, then going back down. I left as soon as the Steelers took their pick. Just
Yeah.
because I thought like this draft class was weak. I saw everything I needed to see. But I'm walking out of there, like trying to find the exit. There was a point where I thought I wasn't gonna like get out of there.
You weren't
There were
gonna be
that
able to
many
leave?
people. There were that many people there, like, and we were like really up front. We like pushed our way. Found some like drunk Bills fan who was trying to find his friend. Just followed him all the way up to the front.
We used him as a lead blocker.
Exactly.
Very
It was
nice.
like yeah, that guy will take the fall if someone gets pissed.
Yeah.
But we just kept on pushing our way to the front.
Human
And
shield.
I still couldn't see anything. Couldn't see Roger Goodell the entire night. Like all you're doing, you can see the screens. You're around like a bunch of people. It's like a cool environment, but like didn't see anything at all.
And again, my thing too is like even when you can see Roger Goodell, like you don't get to see many of the guys who walk out. You don't get to see the highlights that they show. You don't get to hear the breakdown that you see on TV.
Yeah.
You texted me and you said you might have to change the draft to an A tier day in sports instead of S.
I don't know. I was just like I was exhausted after Thursday.
Yeah.
So I might go back, revert that back to an S, because my favorite moment of the draft was on Saturday, round 7. I'm at work down on the North Shore, but I have like my meal break. I'm like, well, like the draft is right here. Why not check it out?
Yeah.
The Steelers have a pick coming up. So I walk down there. I'm there for like maybe 30 minutes. I see them take Eli Heidenreich out of Navy. He was actually like there in Pittsburgh.
He's a
from
Pittsburgh guy. Mount Lebo in high school. Went to Navy for college.
Navy guy.
Got
Navy running
drafted back to his hometown Steelers.
He comes out there. He's like waving the terrible towel and stuff. Like it was the
in the
coolest
Navy
moment of the draft.
attire too. I like
Yeah,
that he
yeah.
had his
Gave a little salute when he like put on his hat and like that mirror thing that they do. It was like the coolest thing, and it happened in the 7th round.
That was
it,
cool.
It made it up. Brought it back to an S tier. For me.
It's moments like that that really make the draft.
Yeah, and this draft class was like weak.
It was.
Like that doesn't help the like the entertainment factor of the draft.
What do you think about the Steelers draft class themselves? I like a couple of the things that they did, especially getting Heidenreich. I think that was a really nice pickup for them.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, at the very bare minimum, it's a great story.
For sure.
Again, he's a Pittsburgh guy, went to Navy. Don't get to see guys who have the stats that Eli Heidenreich had when they came out of Navy.
For sure.
He had great stats, even for a
Jack
guy
of all
in that,
trades.
yeah, he's going to be a guy that's going to be dangerous. I really didn't want the Steelers to get him. I thought that he could be like a McCaffrey type of player, and tool for an NFL team. And I did not want the Pittsburgh Steelers to get him, especially because, again, hometown story. That's another thing. Every year, there's a guy who I'm like, I just really hope the Steelers don't take him because he's going to be really good, and like the Yinzers are going to love him. And he was the guy this year. A couple years ago, it was Najee Harris.
Pickens, I feel like, was one of those guys.
Pickens was another one of those guys. But they get him. They also got Caden Weegan out of Iowa, really good return threat, good receiver.
Yeah, I mean, last year with Caleb Johnson, fumbling the ball, turning that into a touchdown for the Seahawks, where they lost that game, I think, in like week 4. And then you had like Calvin Austin returning. Like, we need a true returner. I like that pick. I don't think it'll like do much receiving, but I think special teams he'll be. Yeah, it's a solid pick there.
Yeah, at the bare minimum. And honestly, I mean, like after Pittman and DK Metcalf, they don't have a ton of receiving threats anyway. I don't see there's
Jeremy Bernard.
That's right, except for now the pick out of Alabama, Jeremy Bernard. But I do think that Weegan could rotate in there and play some receiver. He's a very Steelers receiver, like of the guys that you guys have had, like Skoranek over the last couple of years. Skoranek, Scotty Miller.
Yeah. He just seems like a Rodgers guy.
Yeah.
Like he could really, like, for some reason, Rodgers would have a weird connection with him.
Yeah.
He won't do anything probably crazy, but yeah, I like that pick. But one of my favorite picks in the draft was Jennings Dunker, another Iowa guy, offensive tackle. And the biggest thing I like about him is he's boys with the Rizzler. He did an ad with Buffalo Wild Wings with the Rizzler, with Cam Scatterbo, and they were eating cheese curds in caramel sauce.
Yeah, that was beautiful. If you haven't seen that clip, that's a behind enemy lines. Like, there's a partnership there.
For sure.
Everyone who saw that, who has ever listened to Behind Enemy Lines knows that we were fired up to seeing that.
Yeah, and they've probably already seen that clip too.
They probably have. But
when you sent me that clip, like, I knew Scatterbo, obviously knew the Rizzler. I mean, how could you not? But I was like, who's that guy in the middle? I was like, who is that dude? The clip was before the draft, and then the Steelers take him. I'm like, oh my God, that's the Rizzler's boy.
Yeah,
we got him.
Dunker. Good,
that was one of my favorite picks.
You can't go wrong drafting, a Hawkeye offensive lineman.
For sure.
Really. So I think that's another good pick. But the big pick, I feel like, for the Steelers this past weekend was Drew Allar, the Cleveland born and bred man, goes to Penn State. He looked conflicted about putting on the Steelers cap.
Yeah.
But they take him in the 3rd round with the 12th pick. Big body. Obviously, we talked about it last week, has all the athletic tools. But just hasn't really been able to get it done on a college level that, to where they've wanted him to get it done. All the hype going into Penn State the last couple of years, and they haven't been able to make that leap and go to be a national championship contender truly. 2 years ago, they were close, obviously lost to Notre Dame, but gets taken to the Steelers. It's going over to Pittsburgh. What do you think about this one? I mean, I feel like it's a good fit overall. It's a 3rd round pick. It's pretty low risk.
Yeah.
And there's no quarterback future that's a sure thing in Pittsburgh. Now, if we go back to the interviews from last week, everyone was loving Will Howard on the street.
Yeah, they were.
But this is, a good way to hedge for their future.
For sure, cuz like the closer we get to the season starting, you have no clue if Aaron Rodgers is actually coming back.
That's right.
And there's been some rumors that he might be interested in going to a different team, especially if a Bo Nix might be injured worse than people thought. That's a little rumor out there.
I think he'll still come back to the Steelers. I think his big thing right now is with his age and his body and everything, he doesn't want to do OTAs.
Oh, yeah,
that's how it was last year.
Yeah.
He came in after OTAs, and it was just like, he doesn't really, he's not gaining a ton from being there, at least in his mind. it'd be more taxing, physically taxing on him than he would get out of it. But I do think that, at least in my mind, from an outside standpoint, watching it, it seemed like there was a bit of a disconnect watching them last year. And I think that's like, I think that could be part of it. The fact that he wasn't there in OTAs and wasn't there with the team throughout the entire offseason. So I think it could hurt him more than he maybe thinks it does. But I don't think there's any chance he's not a Steeler this year.
Yeah, I think I also agree. I think he will be a Steeler, but they are hedging their bets. But the first thing I thought of when they drafted Drew Aller was I thought of Landry Jones, the backup quarterback for Ben Roethlisberger for a lot of years out of Oklahoma. Like, he had everything you wanted out of a quarterback, like, and he wasn't bad. When he got his opportunities, though, like, he just couldn't win the big games. I think that's kind of what Drew Aller is. I don't know if he'll have a true future as like an NFL starter, but I do like having him in there. I think the potential is great. I think having Mike McCarthy there to mentor this guy, and if you get Aaron Rodgers as well to mentor him, I think he's going to be in as good a situation as any quarterback in the NFL, maybe even a better situation than Ty Simpson, which some are saying is the best situation that any prospect landed in. But I like Aller a lot. Big arm, big body, just needs to work on the accuracy and decision making, and I think get a little confidence. And like, he didn't win big games in college.
For him right now is the confidence.
For sure. He didn't win big games in college, but he played for James Franklin.
Yeah.
Like, that guy had a history of not winning big games way before Drew Aller was the quarterback. I'm happy overall.
So you did mention Ty Simpson. I want to come back to that in a little bit, but where does this now put the quarterback room in Pittsburgh? Because Rudolph's still there.
Yeah.
Will Howard's there, obviously. Drew Aller is there now. And there's the looming number 8, Aaron Rodgers, who will probably be there before the beginning of the season. Having 4 guys, I think last week we kind of maybe even said, or you said to me off, Mike, that Rudolph's probably going to get sent off, right? You think it's a pretty high possibility he'll get traded or maybe even just cut?
I think cut, yeah.
Yeah?
Probably.
Okay, and then it'll be,
especially if you
Rodgers
get
and
Rodgers.
the 2 young guys.
I don't know what the implications would be if Rodgers signed after OTAs. Like, how easy it would be to cut Rudolph.
Who do you think just right now on April 30th? Obviously not really any of the offseason stuff's fully underway. There's a couple of things that have started for teams, but who do you think starts a game first for the Steelers? Will Howard or Drew Aller?
That's tough. That's really tough.
Is it Aller or Aller?
I think it's Aller.
Hell, I want. I say it different every time, I think.
I think it's Aller, but I've heard a lot of people say Aller as well.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Who do you think will start a game first? Will Howard or Drew Aller?
I think Drew Aller.
Really?
Just because I think Rodgers will be starting the entire season this year.
Okay.
And then at that point, like, they're basically on even footing, I think, going into the next year. I think there's a good chance Rodgers gets banged up during the season. Then you could see Will Howard maybe sneak in there, take the job. But there's also a good chance Aller's just ahead of Howard before the season, just where they were drafted.
Yeah, I mean, he was a 3rd round pick. What was Howard? He was like 6th round. Yeah.
That's a big difference in the NFL.
Oh, for sure.
The value that you put on these guys. Third round is no joke for a quarterback. Like, this is a guy that you expect to be playing games. 6th round quarterback. I mean, we saw so many 6th round quarterbacks in this draft that will probably never play a game in the NFL.
Yeah, very true.
Will Howard, I think he got a bad break with some situations, and there's a good chance he never plays a game with the Steelers.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting too because they're very, honestly, like on paper, similar quarterbacks. They're both big guys, 6'5",
Big Ten guys.
Yeah, they're both Big Ten guys. They're both talented physically. I don't know if Howard has quite the arm talent that Aller has.
Here's the big
thing. They've both played with a lot of talent in college too.
The talent is way different. Like, Will Howard played with insane talent.
Yeah.
Aller played with good players. Nothing compared to the guys that Will Howard had at Ohio State.
No, 100%.
So I think
he was
that
throwing
helped.
He was throwing the 1st round draft picks.
Yes.
And I don't.
And Judkins and
yes,
Henderson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, those were 2 2nd round draft picks. Excuse me. I was going to say Henderson and Judkins, but they were 2nd round draft picks as well.
But the talent, like,
Aller, the only guy, the only guy he was thrown to was like Tyler Warren would be a first round draft pick. What happened to the Penn State running backs? I thought Katron Allen and what's his name were supposed to be like top prospects, and I never heard anything about them this year.
Nick Singleton was like the top guy. He went to the Titans in the 5th round, which is kind of surprising because he was projected early on to be early draft pick, but then he did get hurt. I think he tore his ACL.
Katron Allen gets taken in the 6th to the Commanders.
Yeah, those Penn State running backs, they fell off a bit. I still think they have good potential in the NFL, especially Nick Singleton. I think he got into a great situation with the Titans. I thought they were going to take Jeremiah Love with the 4th pick, but Love got snagged early on by the Cardinals. And I think the Titans ended up getting a decent running back in Singleton to back up Pollard and Tajay Spears.
How about for the draft, too? The first 2 running backs off the board, both in the 1st round, both from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Love and then Jadarian Price at number 32. Price could be a fantasy sleeper, could take over that Kenneth Walker spot. That would be a guy to look out for if you're in one of those dynasty leagues like me and Dom both are.
Yeah.
So I'll have to take a peek at where he goes in the mock drafts. Stick with us here on Behind Enemy Lines on WSRR Radio. We'll get into a lot more draft talk after these messages.
Based out of Chicago, Synergy Music Studio is built for artists who care about the sound of their music. From recording, mixing, and mastering, to full production and live studio sessions, Synergy works hands-on to help artists turn ideas into finished professional releases. They support the Chicago scene, and they welcome new artists anytime. If you're serious about your sound, start at synergymusicstudio.com today.
Independent music has always been about doing things your own way, not cutting corners, not chasing trends, and definitely not handing everything off to someone who doesn't care about the end result. That's where Hellbender Vinyl comes in. Hellbender Vinyl is Pittsburgh's first and only custom vinyl record pressing plant trusted by artists across the country. They work hands-on with independent musicians to make sure each release sounds right and feels right start to finish. Every project includes 5 free test presses, so quality isn't a guessing game, it's built right into the process. So, if you're serious about your music and how it's released, don't settle for disposable formats. Press it with Hellbender Vinyl. Hellbent on quality, hellbent on service, hellbendervinyl.com.
Welcome back to Behind Enemy Lines right here on WSRR Radio. We are talking NFL draft today. It's May 1st. Teams are getting into the swing of things, getting geared up for the year. And, the draft happened. Like I said, the draft is an S-tier day in sports because it feels like everyone wins the Super Bowl on the draft. There are no losers on draft day unless you make a really bad trade or a really bad pick. But you know what else feels like winning the Super Bowl, Dom?
What's that?
When you put on a fire-ass fit, when you got a really nice piece of clothing, like something from genericclothes.com. Nobody cares about the details. Get to the point at genericclothes.com. Don't sell out to big brand clothing empires and their prices. Make a statement at their expense with genericclothes.com, and it'll feel like you are a first-round draft pick.
Like $1 million bucks.
What do you think of that? That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
I feel like $1 million bucks, and it'll only cost you about 10.
That's right. Not even sometimes, especially if you win a contest.
You win it. If you win the trivia,
you win a March Madness.
You win the March Madness contest. There's plenty of ways that you can get them for free if you stick with us, because there'll be other opportunities. So never miss a moment of this fine program.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Cleveland. This is the Cleveland Sports Talk Show from Pittsburgh. Cleveland, this is for you. The Browns had another excellent draft on paper. At this point, the morale in Cleveland seems to be high after this last draft. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, because we're looking at the draft picks that they had last year. There's a lot of really good rookies that contributed early. Schlesinger being the rookie of the year. Mason Graham was a silent rookie of the year contender. Had a spectacular rookie year. Really didn't get talked about enough, especially for being the 5th overall pick. And then, of course, Quinshon Judkins had a very good rookie showing. Did come down with an injury. Harold Fannin There was a lot of guys that were impressive for the Browns last year, and now a whole new crop of rookies coming in. Browns had 10 draft picks this year, and you said to me, it's going to be a new team.
It's a new era
in Cleveland.
It's a new era in Cleveland, Lucas. I saw a very interesting stat on Twitter. 31 of the 39 offensive players have joined the team since March 2025.
Wow.
According to their projected depth chart. A lot of things could change. Like they could even have more new guys joining before the start of the season. Like it's just fresh. It's looking good on paper. And I think this draft was one of the best out of the teams in the NFL. I'd give it an A for them this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to. Again, picking up 10 guys. And the big thing for me in this draft is that there were a lot of points of need for this team. And I think that they really were like, we're just going to go address these spots. They needed offensive linemen. And this offseason, they've signed 3 free agents. They've drafted 3 rookies now. Spencer Fano at number 9. They traded back from the 6th pick. I didn't love it at first because when you're at the 6th pick now, when Tate got taken first, I kind of was like, all right, they probably will trade back because I think that might have been their guy to go to. But there was a part of me that said we should just take Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles at this pick, strengthen that defense that already has done so much. But they trade back and they take the first offensive lineman off the board in this draft, Spencer Fano, which means to me that they got their guy. At least you would hope so, right? Yeah,
and it seems like the clear-cut number 1 offensive lineman, which is always a great thing to have coming out of the draft.
And you know what else I liked about him? He was fired up to go to Cleveland because, like Puka Nacua, big Braun fan.
Oh, yeah?
Very big Braun fan.
Is that right?
His brother, someone posted, like, going to the land of our glorious king on TikTok. And, like, that was like, yeah, there's some Cleveland lore there that at least they can respect that.
Yeah. And you said you, like, were a little upset not getting Tate, but then you get out of this draft with, like, 2 great receivers.
Yeah.
Who could be just as good as Carnell Tate.
Yes. And
Casey Concepcion was one of my favorite receivers going in this draft. This was one I was not too happy to see the Browns taking.
Yeah, this was a guy who I thought didn't get talked about a ton, especially after you watch his highlights. And people talked about his drops a lot, but I think that, over the year of having 7 drops throughout the season was like his big, his con of the year. I like the way that he plays the game. He's a very dynamic guy. I went back and watched his highlights from when he was at NC State because that's where he was prior to transferring to Texas A&M. And what I really liked about him is not that they'll do this with him in Cleveland, but they used him all over the field, like from his freshman year. Like they had him lined up in the pistol behind the quarterback, and they just run a stretch play with him. And they used him on a lot of sweeps and reverses. He threw a touchdown pass at one point, I think. For NC State. They use him in a lot of different ways in the return game as well at Texas A&M. He's an explosive guy. And I think you can tell in the way that he runs his routes and runs with the ball in his hands, like he's a competitor. And that's what I really like about him.
And the way he talks. Like his tweets are like, he puts out like basically like press statements, basically, where like write stuff. I don't know exactly what it is, but they're always hard.
Yeah.
Like it's like, he's got a good head on his shoulders, it seems like. And you're right, he is like a true 3-level player. Like I think of guys like Jerry Jeudy, he can be a deep threat, but he's not a guy who's doing all that stuff like you're mentioning that Concepcion can do. He's going to be on all levels of the field. I'm excited for what he can do. I think he'll be wide receiver 1 pretty soon.
Concepcion will be?
Yeah.
I think he'll that's kind of the one knock on the Browns draft that some people were saying out of Cleveland is that not even on the draft, but just about their roster configuration right now, was they said the Browns still don't really have a receiver 1 because Jeudy is technically right now going to be listed as their wide receiver 1. Boston, I think, he can run a lot of routes, and I think he's going to be like a jump ball guy, deep threat guy for sure. And I think Concepcion's going to work better out of the slot, but I still think those 2 guys can do both things and do it all. And I really don't think where they were drafting that there was going to be a number 1 guy where it's like, Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson, the guy you can line up at Z and just have them run routes one-on-one.
Yeah.
Not that I don't think you can do that with Concepcion, but just body archetype the quote unquote prototypical wide receiver one wasn't really available for them. And I think that, as through free agency and the next draft and the next couple of years, you're still building this team. While I think they're a lot better right now than they were, 2 weeks ago, I still don't think like this is going to be a team that's going to win 10 games or anything. Like you're still building for the future with these guys on rookie contracts.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a few pieces away. Like quarterback 100%. Is the main question mark.
That's
and you kind of addressed it. Like you did draft a quarterback, Taylor Green, one of my favorite picks, one of the biggest steals of the draft, I'd say.
Yeah. So
athletic freak.
He's really an experiment where it's like they took him the first pick of the sixth round. It's like, why not throw it at this guy? And I said to you before we started recording, like people talked about him and his athleticism, like Anthony Richardson. Him, Anthony Richardson, and Cam Newton were the only guys who have ever tested the way that they did at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was 4 years ago or whenever Anthony Richardson was drafted, Taylor Green probably is a first round overall pick.
It's possible.
First round pick.
Yeah.
And I think the reason he's not is because people saw how amazingly athletic Anthony Richardson was, and they took a shot on him. The Colts did in the first round, and he obviously hasn't really panned out.
Yeah.
So I think if Anthony Richardson hadn't come along, Taylor Green very well could have been, if not a first round guy, at least a day 2 guy.
Yeah. I mean, Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields is another guy. Like Taylor Green is much bigger than Fields, but I do think like they're similar. But Fields was a first round guy. Like to get this guy in the 6th round it's going to take a lot of work. Like we've seen a lot of quarterbacks with this archetype that haven't panned out recently, but there is a chance that like if this 6'6" guy who can run a 4.4 40, like
4.3,
really
4.33 was his best 40 time.
I mean, if you can figure out how to make this guy work, you've got a cheat code.
And I also think that I wouldn't say there's no better place for him to go, but you go to a team that has Todd Monken as their head coach now, who worked with Lamar Jackson for the last however many years. Like he knows how to make it work for an athletic quarterback. Obviously, like there's going to be ways that he schemes up run game and stuff for, Taylor Green if he's in there. I almost think like he's such a good athlete, it's almost going to be hard not to get him on the field. Like he's going to be the shiny toy where it's like we got to put something in for this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm interested and excited to see how they use him.
Could be the tush push guy.
Maybe, but he's a little lean. He's a little lean for a tush push. I think he's more of a Q sweep guy.
Yeah.
Like that on the,
that could be
maybe
nice.
like Q power, Q sweep, but I don't like him getting in there and just getting pushed from behind by Judkins and Royer.
Yeah.
Another
let Shador do that.
Another pick.
But
I don't know. If Shador definitely, I think, is not strong enough to do that.
So now the Browns have...
Put in Deshaun. Let him tear his Achilles again doing it. Go ahead.
Well, now the Browns have 4 quarterbacks. Apparently, Deshaun Watson is the QB1 right now. It's still so early, so that probably will change. But you have 4 quarterbacks, and they're saying, like, Dylan Gabriel, they don't have any plans to trade him. So...
I don't know how much I trust that.
Yeah.
My brother, he said that he thinks... Because they've had some workouts now and some team activities in Berea for the Browns, and they've done some team sessions and stuff. My brother said, I think that Todd Monken and the new coaching staff got in there and they saw the 3 of them throwing Dylan Gabriel, Deshaun Watson, and Shador Sanders, and they were like, you guys really used a 3rd round pick on Dylan Gabriel. Like, this guy is not an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the reason why they were like, let's take Taylor Green in the 6th, because they're ready to
they're that out on
Gabriel out. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a shame. I mean, Gabriel went to...
I feel bad for him. I'm not going to lie.
He didn't go to a great spot. I think there are positions where he could have ended up succeeding, but unfortunately, I don't see his NFL career really taking off anymore.
I could see him playing in the UFL in a couple of years. Why
I could
not?
see that.
Next year.
I'd root for him for sure.
I would tune in to watch that.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that they need to get in the UFL. Like DTR over on the Birmingham Stallions now. Got traded, played a little bit this week. UFL, you can only get that talk here on Behind Enemy Lines. But yeah, I really like what the Browns have done thus far. I do think that they're still, the verdict is still out on Shador because he only had, not even half of a season last year.
And he wasn't good.
And he wasn't good, but he was also the best quarterback that they had, probably.
True.
Which, again, isn't saying a lot. But, another year in the NFL, another year in the system. He showed some flashes. He seemed like he could read defenses all right at times. I think that this next year isn't going to be the year where they make the playoffs, but it could be the year that you make a decision like, all right, we have a lot of pieces. Let's go draft a quarterback next year. And I think that'll be the biggest interesting thing that happens for the Browns in this upcoming season.
I mean, I think the craziest thing to me still, like, changed my perception. Like, I think everyone's perception, he beat the Steelers. That's
right.
That's big.
Yeah.
For Cleveland, big for Pittsburgh losing to the Browns. Like, it made a lot of people respect Shador. Like, watching the guy, he'll never get you to
Probably
where
not.
you want to go.
I have hope, but it's a very reserved hope. Let's just say that. I've said it on the show too before, like, coming into the league, I wasn't really rooting for him. I didn't want the Browns to take him, but like now I'm obviously not going to root against him.
Yeah,
So
like,
he's a Brown, he's in brown and orange. I want them to succeed, and I want him to succeed for that.
as a Steelers fan, part of me wants him to succeed because it is a cool story. Like, he's Deion Sanders' kid. He's the quarterback for, like, historically one of, if not the worst teams in the NFL.
In sports, really.
Yeah. Like, if he could turn that around, like Prime's kid, come on.
Yeah,
That'd be
it
cool.
would be cool. It would be a very cool story. Getting back quickly here before we go to commercial, you talked about Casey Concepcion and some of his tweets and things.
Press releases.
By the way, also has a stutter, which I don't know if you've seen his interviews, but he has like a pretty bad stutter, and he talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
This is probably digging too deep into this, but I like it. I think the fact he was like, yeah, I was always really insecure as a kid because of it and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that Cleveland having a guy like that, like, who's not going to get too big for his britches and like can keep himself grounded, like, that's what they need.
Yeah.
Because it is a small market town. You know, it's a guy who's, if he loves football and he really is going to put that above himself and put the team above himself, I think that's exactly what we need. But his tweet on draft night, or maybe it was the day before, whatever it was, but Casey Concepcion put out, before I get out of here, I do want to say once again for all to hear that I'm the best receiver in this draft. But at the end of the day, I'm so much more than just a football player, and any team that picks me is going to realize that immediately. So if you're a GM out there reading this, put me on your team and let's get to work. You're not going to regret calling my name. Never. And I mean never. Did I stutter? Casey.
Yeah, it's nice.
Exactly. I mean, that at first, a couple of the buddies in the group chat were like, he's got drop issues. The Browns would draft a receiver that can't catch. And then someone sent that and said, all right, I'm in. I like it. And I'm fully on board the KC Concepcion train. And you guys could be fully on board the Behind Enemy Lines train. Stick with us through this last break for more nonstop action. Boom.
Nobody cares about the details, seriously. Not the logo, not the stitching, and not the tiny symbol that magically doubles the price of the t-shirt. Think about it. The shirt you're wearing right now and the one I'm wearing do the exact same job. They cover us, they keep us warm, and they stop us from being arrested for public indecency. The only difference is a swoosh, a rectangle, or a name that convinced you it was worth more money. That's where GenericClothes.com comes in. They skip the branding nonsense and get straight to the point. Shirts that literally say what they are. Sports team, political statement, music band. No hype, no pretending, just honesty and a sense of humor at the expense of big clothing brands. If you're tired of paying extra for a logo that nobody actually cares about, or you want the perfect gift for someone who actually gets the joke, head to GenericClothes.com. Nobody cares about the details. Get to the point.
Welcome back to Behind Enemy Lines right here on WSRR Radio. We're talking NFL draft today, and there were some great picks in the NFL draft. You know where else there's some great picks? Your Buddy's Garage. They sell a selection of salvage, used, and scrapped auto parts and accessories perfect for a quick fix or a first stop before you shop. Before you pay a pro, see what your buddy's got at yourbuddiesgarage.com. That's yourbuddiesgarage.com. Thank you so much, Your Buddy's Garage, for sponsoring us at Behind Enemy Lines and WSRR Radio. Dom, top picks from this NFL draft, maybe not top, but the best picks, ESPN has their top 100 picks ranked from the 2026 NFL draft. And I think that a guy who got very similar treatment to one of his college teammates this year and somehow almost flew under the radar in the draft process was Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State. I think he kind of got the Emeka Egbuka treatment last year in the draft, or this year he got what Egbuka got last year, excuse me, where in his season, in their last seasons at Ohio State, everyone was like, this guy is going to be a surefire thing in the NFL. They're already ready. Like, they're spectacular talents. They're all-around players. Whoever gets them, it's going to be a steal. And then neither of them kind of showed out anything crazy in the offseason, like in their combine and their workout. But they're guys where it's like you kind of didn't need to. Like, you turn on the tape and you can see they're a football player. Yeah. They're the best football player on the field a lot of times. And Downs ends up dropping to pick 11 to the Cowboys, who were really going to focus on the defensive side this year in the draft. Jerry Jones came out and said that, and they did that by getting Caleb Downs at 11.
Now, I think the only thing that you could critique is that it's a safety. Like, it's not the craziest, most impact position, I feel like.
I think that he is, though.
I think he's different. I do agree with ESPN. It was the first big steal in the draft. To get him at 11 is great. But if I were to play devil's advocate, that's what I'd say.
I think, though, he's so good at everything. The reason he plays safety is because he does everything. He can play the middle of the field safety, where he'll play a deep half and take away an entire side of the field and take away the deep ball. He'll also play nickel and lock up a guy one-on-one in the slot. He'll also come down and play in the box and play, be a linebacker.
Yeah.
He can rush off the edge. He's got very similar attributes to Jamal Adams when he was coming out of college, but I think he's better in the secondary. He's better on the back end. I think this is a lights out pick. I think the fact that he fell to 11 is just a home run waiting there on a T-ball for the Cowboys to take.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I thought was going to take him earlier. Maybe the Giants at 10. But I feel like he didn't go too far off where I expected. I think 11 is still great because I feel like overall he is probably a top 5 guy in this class, but just based on the teams that were ahead of him, the needs, I just didn't see him going much earlier than 11.
And again, like you said, he is a safety, so it's tough because a safety spot. Again, that's kind of why though I wanted the Browns. I would have been totally fine with the Browns taking him at 6.
Yeah.
Because one, I think he's going to be so good. I think he's very versatile, but also I think that as a safety, that's kind of a point. No one said it for the Browns, but I think that's a position of need for them.
Definitely.
Because I think Ronnie Hickman, I think I've said it on the show before, I think he's one of the worst players in the NFL. I hate to say it about a Buckeye and a guy who I want to support and I want to cheer on.
Yeah.
But he's so bad.
Yeah, I think Caleb Downs would have been great for the Browns there at 9. Another team, I think the Saints. Instead of taking Jordan Dyson, I think Caleb Downs would have been a better pick there.
Replace Tyrann Mathieu in the back end there as,
you gotta
as
get
that
another
versatile, strong safety.
Yeah, we gotta bring that back.
I
agree. That was a great steal.
Another safety though that ended up going and was ranked number 13th best pick in this draft by ESPN, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren to the Browns. I know we did our Browns segment last segment, but we'll touch on this quick. Falling to the second round to pick 58. A lot of people had him as the second best safety in this draft.
Yeah.
And some people had him as high as the 15th best player in this draft.
But what, he was the 4th or 5th safety taken? I think 4th.
I think he was. Now, of course, it is tough because he comes out of the MAC, and I do think that can kind of skew how scouts look at a guy who comes out of the MAC. I mean, you look at Fannin last year, though, and he obviously came in and produced immediately for the Browns. But I love this pick for Cleveland. Another safety who I think can do a lot of different things. He's a turnover machine, which I think is the big thing, because I think the Browns, as good of a defense as they've had, they haven't really forced a ton of turnovers the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Other than strip sacks by Myles Garrett.
No.
But I think that's a great pick for Cleveland to round out that secondary and really strengthen a defense that already is pretty strong but aging.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good pick. Strengthens, like you said, it's a Toledo guy, so you're not really sure if that's going to be a surefire NFL product. But another safety, Dylan Thieneman, first round pick of the Bears. Like the safeties were just maybe the hottest position in this draft. I think that's a great pick for the Bears. I was looking for them to draft an offensive lineman to protect Caleb Williams a little more in the first round, but their defense was a little weak last year, so I think Thieneman will be able to help limit the scoring on that side of things. I think it's a good pick. I didn't know much about him. Didn't watch a ton of Oregon this past year, but I watched his highlights after this, and I was liking what I was seeing out of this guy.
He's a freak. He's an athletic freak. Like, he's a very, very good athlete. He had the pick against, I think it was Penn State to end the game in MVP.
Yeah.
I remember watching that entire game. That was a good one. I think he's really good, but he's a free safety who's going to play like deep.
Uh-huh.
And while I think that's what the Bears needed in their secondary, he's just a little bit different than what I think the Browns got out of McNeil Warren.
Yeah.
He's going to do a little bit more in the box stuff, which will be interesting because I do have Grant Delpit to do that for Cleveland. But no, I really like the pick of Thieneman as well. Another pick that I thought was interesting, Sonny Styles falling to 7 to the Commanders. I think he's another pick that was kind of like the Caleb Downs pick, where it was like, if he's going to fall to us, why would we not take him? Our buddy's a big Commanders fan.
Yeah.
First thing I asked him, how you feeling after taking Styles? And he said the same thing. Like, he's a stud. Why would we not take him at 7?
Best available player. Probably the biggest upside out of anyone in this class, I'd say, maybe outside of Mendoza. I love that pick for them at 7. If you would have asked me like where Styles was getting drafted over under 5.5, I probably would have taken the under on that.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to the Giants, but some people dropped in that. Chiefs, I think, reached a little bit on cornerback out of LSU, and then Styles falls right into the Commanders' lap. The biggest thing out of this one that I thought about later after the draft was he gets to work with Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
Bobby Wagner is one of the best linebackers. He's a little bit of the old school, but he's still like really successful still in the modern
One of
NFL.
the best linebackers in NFL history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Styles, to learn from him, to really like work on the mechanics, that side of thing. I think it's going to be great for him, for the organization.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think that Bobby Wagner too can show him a lot. Like, I think that Styles has all the physical tools of it, and maybe is a better athlete than Wagner, but Wagner's going to be able to show him, like the ins and outs of the games and the things to look for, the cheat codes to look for on an offense. I think you're exactly right. Something I didn't actually even think of. Great insight.
Took me a little bit.
Just an absolute.
A few hours later, I was like, wait a minute. Bobby Wagner's still in the NFL.
Just an absolute gem of a find there.
That's what we do here.
That's exactly right. Number 4, ESPN's number 4 pick of the NFL draft. I think this is going to be a little bit controversial for someone who reads this, who knows a lot about this guy. Mekhi Lemon to the Eagles. Pick number 20. A guy who a lot of people coming into the draft process thought that he was a top 3 receiver. And I don't think that, anyone changed their mind on that physically, but in all of his like pre-draft interviews, he seems like a psychopath. And I think that's kind of exactly what everyone says and is expecting from him.
I think part of that was an act.
Do you think so?
I think so. I think there's some guys who are actually crazy. I think this guy is putting on an act.
Like, he wants to be crazy?
He wants to like look like he's really hard, look like he's like crazy about football.
He's a California kid, though. I don't know. Those guys are a little bit messed up in the head sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think there's I just don't see like character issues really with him.
I just think there's a non-zero chance that he's the next Antonio Brown, where he's a freak on the field. He makes great plays, and the off the field issues could end up being, bigger than the on the field success.
And I think part of that would come from playing in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like you got the most ruthless fans in the NFL. Like that just has to be one of the worst places to play.
For him?
Yeah.
Or just in general?
As a wide receiver, probably. You're also playing with Jalen Hurts, who some would argue isn't like that good.
Yeah.
I'd argue that, but like he could get thrown on the bus really quick.
Yeah.
He could be the next A.J. Brown.
I was going to say the other thing about it is that now with this pick, it seems like the Eagles are going to move on from A.J. Brown. So there's going to be some high expectation for Mekhi Lemon right out of the gate.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see like how he plays in the NFL.
He's going to be paired with Devontae Smith.
But like, where are they going to put him though? Like, I feel like they're very similar wide receivers.
Yeah, he's a little bit on the shorter side. I think he'll be a little more in the slot, but
Yeah,
not necessarily. I don't know.
but Devontae played a good amount in the slot.
It's very true. He's got a little more size on him. I mean, he's lanky. Smith is.
He'll definitely be able to play on the outside.
Yeah.
I think they're going to see that. I think Devontae Smith will have a best season of his career.
Do you
I
think
a lot of
Mekhi
people
Lemon can
predicting.
be like Antonio Brown, where like the size doesn't matter and he can still play on the outside, and he's so
Maybe.
quick and has such good routes that it won't matter that he's undersized?
Maybe. I didn't even think of that. That could be a good comparison. I see on ESPN, one of the comps is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh, okay.
That one's not bad.
Another
He's
USC
smaller.
guy.
I think he's a little bit smaller than Amon-Ra. But if he could get up to that comparison, I think that's an absolute steal at pick 20. Now, there's a viral clip from the draft where he was on the phone with Omar Khan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when you didn't see this clip?
No. Who's it? Lemon?
Yeah, Mekhi Lemon's on the phone with Omar Khan. The Steelers have pick number 21.
Okay.
He's on the phone with Omar Khan. He's on the phone. He looks down at his phone. He says, "Why is Philadelphia calling me?" His agent runs into the room. He's like, that's like the Eagles. They're drafting you right now. Like, hang up this call and answer that one.
Wow.
So he answers the Philadelphia call, and they take him. The Eagles traded up to get this pick. I don't think they traded with the Cowboys. I think
So they
Cowboys
jumped
knew.
right in front of, so the Steelers were going to take him.
That's what everyone's saying. Well, yeah,
Wow.
exactly. If Omar Khan's on the phone with them, like, say, hey, we're about to take you up here. And then all of a sudden, Eagles trade up and they get him. So it was kind of embarrassing for the Steelers in that part. I'm surprised you didn't see that.
No, I did
Clip.
not.
I thought, yeah, it was not a great look for the Steelers. There were some people saying they were going to get in trouble too because you're not supposed to call.
I was
going to
say it's a little overeager, huh? That you're
But
supposed to wait.
they were like, there's no way the Cowboys are taking a receiver here. Like, we can just call him up, and then I don't know why you wouldn't call him when you're just on the clock. You got 8 minutes to do it.
Could
But
hold his load.
yeah, it's a crazy clip. If you guys haven't seen that, look that up on Twitter if your account isn't suspended. Find it on Threads, actually.
Yeah, go find that on Threads. Last pick, we'll talk about a very interesting one coming out of Atlanta. The Falcons taking Avion Terrell, the brother of A.J. Terrell. The brothers are now both going to be in the secondary in Atlanta. I think that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
That's my only take on that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't really know a ton about this guy, but, you know, his older brothers obviously like mentored him to this position where he's able to be a second-round pick.
Both played at Clemson, both wore number 8, now both going to be in the secondary of Atlanta.
He's the third-ranked cornerback in this class. I like it. Some of the Falcons needed.
Yeah. Now, real quick before we go away, you mentioned Ty Simpson earlier, and I said that we'd get back to it. We never did. Did you see the stuff about Sean McVay? Didn't even talk to Ty Simpson. Didn't expect for them to take, the usurper of I almost said Matt Stafford,
Matt Falcon.
of Matt Stafford in LA. It seems like they've drafted the future of the quarterback position for the Rams, and McVay was not happy at all about it.
Yeah.
And I can see exactly why, because while Stafford is getting old, the Rams can win the Super Bowl this year. Like,
True.
the Rams were, a couple games away from being in the Super Bowl this year, and they were in, what were they? 1 game away, right?
Yeah.
I think the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
Like, they're just as likely as anyone to win the Super Bowl this year. Why not pick a guy that can help them now
Yeah.
instead of a backup quarterback now?
Stafford was MVP last year.
Exactly.
I mean, the thing is, I don't think there were many better picks to make that would impact them right away. Maybe like Mekhi Lemon. But outside of that, I think they realized, I think they had guys that they wanted and they got taken. They're like, all right, we'll just plan for the future.
I think they could have and should have went best available. Really hurts the coach. The coach and front office are now going to have an interesting conversation.
I mean,
And
Stafford
relationships
should be the most
forward.
upset.
Yeah, for sure. And I can't blame him. We'll see, because I think he's still got a couple more years in the tank. And we've got more years left in the tank. So stick with us here on Behind Enemy Lines on WSRR Radio for the entire offseason to talk about the NFL season getting ready, getting ramped up and getting,
Dirty.
ready for fall. I already said ready, but we're ready.
Dirty.
We're hyped for football season. It's gonna be
Football.
before we know it.
Excited.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We love you. Kisses and hugs.
Peace.
The preceding program was a sponsored production. The views, claims, and ideas expressed may not represent those of WSRR Radio.